Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got full rockin' my gun out there.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Oh, this hard goddamn work being this good.
One more again, see what I take on your front side, I swear.
You ain't my daddy, are you?
There's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
What time is it?
Game time proof.
Okay, welcome to the Don't Be Blasé podcast. I'm your host, B. Caruana. We're coming to you live from the House of Pleasure, otherwise known as my two-bedroom apartment in North. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Larry and Lad. Go see the boys in Region Arcade, get yourself an awesome coffee, and listen to some pretty sweet tunes. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, a very somber Steve Burrows.
Yeah, I've got nothing. Hey, folks, how you going?
So, Steve, the first thing we're going to address today is going to be a very touchy subject.
Do we have to? Do we have to?
We do. We do have to do this. It's the reason why we're recording on a Sunday as opposed to our normal Friday.
Yeah.
There's been no alcoholic beverages consumed today.
No.
But there's been plenty of tears shed.
Yeah.
We have the Kleenex on deck because we're going to discuss the AFL Grand Final. Steve?
Yep.
What happened?
Nothing good from my guys, did it? It was absolutely dreadful. It was to be so excited. Actually, it wasn't even excitement. I was actually convinced. It was almost like a
certainty.
Yeah, it was. And I talked it up a little bit. I didn't think I went overboard, but when people asked me how I thought it'd go, I thought, Crows are going to walk away with a pretty easy win. And obviously, after the first couple of minutes, I actually thought, yep, on the money. And then, it all started going pear-shaped.
Could you break down, just as a sort of, with your expert analysis, as a lifelong Crows fan?
Yeah, right.
Because we did discuss how excited you would be and how much you were going to celebrate when the Crows won the flag. Sure. Could you break down the superb play of one Tom Lynch?
Oh, man, it was funny is my mate Tom Lynch. Yeah, I think it's no secret how I feel about him as a footy player. Yep. And more importantly, how I feel about his supporters as footy supporters and them being experts themselves. The guy I went to, whose house I went to watch it with, he's one of those guys
that revels in the link-up play.
Yeah, in the link-up play. What a joke. And I got into it with a couple mates who I'm probably no longer mates with anymore after a game. They're a bit sore about it as well. So when I come out with them, I was saying how bad Lynch was.
Well, he was quite good at linking up to the Richmond players.
Yeah.
Like, he would really get that ball going the other way. He really got the play started and got the forward progress for Richmond.
He did. And
unfortunately, he plays for the Adelaide Crows.
And they were saying, Eddie Betts was no good and Taylor Walker was no good. But for someone who's meant to be the link-up guy, and my mate said, he goes, look, it just shows how important he is to the team, because when he doesn't play well, then obviously the Crows don't play well. Which, I guess I can see his point a little bit. But he was dreadful yesterday, and it just goes to show that he's not a great footy player. He's one of those good junk time guys. He'll play well against the shit teams.
Like a Jack Rewalt, who, when the game was in the balance in the first quarter, kicked 3 straight behinds.
100%.
And then in the last quarter, he's kicking goals.
Yeah, exactly. When they're up, by 6 goals and the game's ice.
That's when they had their time to shine.
Yeah. So Lynch just demonstrated once again how shit he was. And and I think the hindsight's beautiful. But it's funny because people still will back him. And they were backing that, and then they were arguing with me like, "Nah, fuck them. You're morons."
Well, at least we're not going to blame the entire game on Tom Lynch.
No, I did.
And hopefully, we're not going to be. You're not going to be one of those Crow supporters that's going to pick the fault with the umpires.
No. I mean, I think definitely. I remember being angry at the umpires during certain points of the game, but when you lose by 50 or 60 points, whatever it was in the end, you can't
blame umpires.
You can't pin the umpires.
It was a 48-point margin.
Was it? Yeah, right.
There was times when there was a few calls that go here, there, and there's always going to be that in every game.
Yeah,
there's no Victorian bias in the game, guys. It was just you were outplayed by a better team on the day, and the one person who could feel the most ripped off, is me, because Alex Rance should have won the Norm Smith. Okay, this is not just because I invested some money in that option, but he just should have won the Norm Smith when the game was there to be won in the first quarter. every time the ball went forward for the Crows, it was just, fist rants, mark rants, free kick rants. Like, he was just giving those forwards, and the forward line for the Crows is one of the best, if not the best in the AFL.
Yeah.
And he was giving them fits. Like, we've nicknamed him the Pest. He's always in the right spot for Richmond. Unfortunately, when you are supporting the other team, he's always in your way.
Yeah.
And he could just get the job done anytime the ball goes forward. And the role of a dominant defender of fullback these days is somewhat lost because the rules are so heavily catered to the forwards. So the fact that he can dominate the game down back, even as I friggin' hate the guy because I just hate Richmond for starters. Hence why I was on the Crows for one day only. It's just so frustrating just how good he is and how much he can dominate a game from the backlines. And should have won Norm Smith.
Dusty shouldn't have won it. I thought Dusty played well. He just wasn't the best on ground.
Oh, definitely not.
And they were giving it because, they want him to be so decorated, which I understand. He's a Victorian and I get that. And, finally they're on top again. But, I don't know. That's my opinion. I think if you're Rance or Hooley or... Tom Lynch for Richmond. Yeah, any of those guys could have won.
Tom Lynch did have best on for Richmond. And once again, unfortunately, does play for the Crows.
Yeah.
But I know you were very certain. There was a few sad faces poking around where we were watching a game too.
Yeah.
A lot of mates that are diehard Crows fans and a few listeners of the show. But I've also got a few listeners that are big Port fans, and I know they enjoyed watching the Crows go down because they've been hearing the issue I have with the Crows. And this is because it's not so much the players or the team.
Yeah.
Other than Taylor Walker, fake tough guy, can't stand you.
He does need to harden up, that dude, man.
It's the arrogance of Crows fans, the self-entitlement, the belief that they are the best club, and if things don't go their way, it's a Victorian bias. And if, the fact that they just feel like they should be, we're the best club and this and that, and we've never had a down period. It's like, yeah, you're a good club, but you're not the best. You've won 2 premierships.
Yeah.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Let it go. You're not getting hard done by. It's not a bullshit that the Grand Finals always played at the MCG. It's the only stadium that holds 100,000 people.
Right.
Okay? And a lot of them were Crows fans there yesterday. Crows fans do travel well.
Yeah.
Brisbane didn't complain when they had to play 3 straight Grand Finals.
No.
Or 4 straight Grand Finals at the MCG. They won 3 in a row. They lost the 4th.
Yeah.
And they played 4 straight away. This is back in the day when I think you had to play the prelims at the MCG as well.
Yeah.
Never got any complaints out of them. If you're the better team, you're going to win. The Crows were not the better team on the day.
No, that's right. And that's what sucks. It sucks because we did have a very good season. And it sucks to just come up short because I think it's like in the Premier League, we would have wrapped up that title and would have been the champions. Yeah. But it's unfortunately it's not the way it is in AFL.
See, that's the one issue I have with Premier League is that if you are the best team all season long, you win the trophy. Yeah, I like the playoff system. I like the final system. I enjoy that. You can have it. Because with something like the Premier League, it gives you no chance to get better. If you start the season poorly, you might as well just put the cue in the rack. You're done. But with the final system, it's always like, okay, you may have started poorly, but it always gives the opportunity to get better and to earn that position to be a champion by the end.
Yeah, like Sydney Swans.
Or even like
they started 0-7 or something like that.
Yeah, 0-6, and they came back and made finals. And even like Western Bulldogs last year came from 7th and went all the way to the grand final. It's like that's what you want. You want to be able to see a team have a chance to just come from nowhere and be that Cinderella story. Right.
Well, I don't. LA should be the champions this year, and it sucks that they're not. Well, it really bugs me.
Yeah, shouldas and couldas don't really fix the problem there, Steve. Just face it, the Crows, at the end of the day, not that much better than Carlton. They're both finishing the year not premiers. So
I hate that argument, man. I hate when people go, "Oh, if you didn't come first, you come last." Get the fuck out of here, man.
Hey, I would not have you insult the integrity of one Ricky Bobby. Okay, that man was a genius.
Yeah, baby jeepers. Yeah, that dude. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really, really upset about it. I'm a bit speechless. I mean, I think. That was our chance. I was honestly thinking, 20 years since the first one. This is, there's omens.
Meant to be.
Yeah, it's meant to be.
You thought you were going to be 3 for 3.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Mate, you can't win them all.
No.
And you found out yesterday you can't win a grand final.
I know. And I remember talking to my mate and going, I feel like a dynasty's coming on here, man. I think we're a good team and we can get better. And I can see us in three grand finals.
I see you guys coming back again next year. I don't see any signs that this is like a one and done for your team.
I agree.
And the thing is with this year's AFL season, this is what I couldn't get my head around. This year was the most up and down AFL season ever. There was not one standout team like there's been in the past with like either Hawthorn or Sydney or whatever dominating, and you knew who the finals teams are going to be at the start of the year. This year, I legitimately had no idea who was playing grand final all year because every team won, lost. Even in the final series alone, I don't know how Sydney can beat Essendon in an elimination final by like 80, then turn around the next week and lose by 70 to Geelong, and then Geelong, after winning by 70, turns around and loses by 10, like 60. It's like, where's the consistency? Like, the Crows looked amazing, but from week to week, you didn't know what team was going to rock up. Like, it's the same game. You should have the same game plan. You have the same preparation. How can the performance be so much different week to week?
It's a mental thing, obviously. I think it shows, and that's one thing I was yelling at the TV today is decision making. It's all mental. Sports, you know, it sounds a bit cliche, but 90% of it is in your head. I mean, and it just shows that if you're not switched on, or you're not making the right decisions on the day, you can lose by 48 points. That's incredible. We beat that. The Crows won by 76 points in round 6 or whatever the hell it was against Richmond.
Yeah.
They were both going in undefeated. The Victorians were like, Richmond, this is their year. And then we thumped them, which put them on a 4 or 5 game losing streak or something like that. It's just a crazy season. It was unbelievable. If you won the tips, who gives a fuck? You don't know a lot.
It was the little girl that tips for her dad and just picks them by colours. That's the person that won footy tips.
Yeah,
we all know that's the true. But we're gonna segue away. I thought we were gonna do a lot more on the grand final because I thought it was gonna be a bit of a celebration. But we will change the topic because I can see you're getting a bit hot, Steve. You're getting a bit red.
Yeah. I don't know how to verbalise my feelings at the moment. That's the problem.
That's okay, mate.
Yeah, so I'm feeling I'm busting up inside.
We'll have a chat about it over the next couple of weeks, mate. We'll try to talk it out. We'll talk it through, and hopefully that'll be therapeutic for you. But we're gonna move to something that we should cheer you up.
Yep.
We are 2 weeks away from the start of the NBA season.
Yeah.
Now, this has been, in my lifetime, the most active off-season in NBA history. You've got players getting traded, players moving left, right, and centre. It's been unreal. Now, Stephen.
Yep.
Which team are we supporting this year, mate? Are we on the Knicks still, or have we now made the move to the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Yeah, I've always liked Oklahoma.
Oh, have you now? Yeah.
Always liked Oklahoma.
Just thundering up over here. Would have nothing to do with Carmelo Anthony being traded.
Right. I didn't even know that happened.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
I'm a big Westbrook fan, obviously.
Yeah. I think we spent the last couple of weeks panning Westbrook, but now you're all on board.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. Actually, I thought the whole week leading up was the AFL Grand Final with the Crows and the news of Melo going to OKC. I'm like, wow, this is a good week, a good news week. And then it's ended pretty shitty, but like you said, NBA is not too far away. I'm super psyched. I'm happy. I love super teams. I love the concept of super teams. I love being able to form these legends together, and it's a good time.
It feels like when you played you play NBA Live or NBA 2K or whatever, and you do the manager mode, and you're doing the trades and stuff like that yourself. That's what it feels like it's been this year. It's just been players moving left, right, and center. If we break down some of the big moves that we've had Kyrie being traded to Boston.
Yep.
And so the Cavs got Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
They got Jake Crowder.
Right.
And then they also picked up Dwayne Wade recently, who got bought out by the Bulls.
Yeah.
So they've sort of lost their second best player.
Yep.
But they've reloaded and actually become, even though they were a pretty deep team last year, they've gone even deeper, even with the pickup of Derrick Rose. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is going to be out until the All-Star game, but they're just one of the deepest rosters in the league. So, even though the Celtics are really, really strong now, my major question is with the Celtics is, okay, you've just now pretty much gutted and rebuilt that team.
Yeah.
Now, they've got an excellent coach in Brad Stevens.
Yep.
But they've got all new stars and all new starting lineup. How long do you reckon that's going to take for them to gel?
It's going to be very interesting. I'm a big Hayward fan. I think he's awesome. And I'm a big Kyrie fan. And I think Cavs fans were a bit hard on him, actually, over the last year or two. Because
I honestly felt I've always said I think he's a little bit overrated. I would take John Wall over Kyrie any day of the week, but that's just
You're
me.
So wrong. He's going to have a great year this year, I think. He's a guy who needs to have the ball in his hands a bit. He's a big scorer.
He's a great scorer. And his ability to finish at the rim, left hand, right hand, doesn't matter, off the glass, reverses, whatever. He's finishing and his scoring is incredible.
He's going to have a breakout year. He's going to have a shoot. I think he's going to have 30 a game. this year.
Well, so that pushes to, I mean, we're sort of jumping ahead here. I'm sort of jumping ahead of this little preview, but who do you think wins the MVP this year? Because you think of last year's candidates, the top 3 candidates was obviously, LeBron's always there.
Yeah.
Kawhi was there. But the top 2 were Harden and Westbrook.
Yeah.
And because they were guys carrying teams themselves. Now, with the acquisition of Melo and Paul George to OKC, and now the move of Chris Paul to the Houston Rockets, they're no longer, standalone players in these teams. They've got these huge, teammates, which will take voting and stuff away from them, much like it did for LeBron having Kyrie next to him.
Yeah.
So who do you think win? Because there's no one really that has their own standalone team anymore.
No, and Russell Westbrook isn't going to have a triple-double season again.
Oh, God.
There's no way. So I think and that's the only reason he won it. So I'm going to take him out of the thing. James Harden isn't going to handle the ball half as much anymore.
Oh, not even, no.
So forget about his 12 assists or whatever the hell he had last year.
Although, in fairness, I think it will make him become a better player.
Oh, definitely.
Because I think he's great off the ball as well. But the problem is there was no one else really to carry the load at Houston. So he was pretty much it was basically the Houston Hardens.
Yeah.
But now with Chris Paul in the lineup, he can run a pick and roll and then kick it over. He's going to get that many open shots, and he's a great shooter, and he's a great scorer himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do everything off the dribble. If he can just spot up and shoot, it's going to be a great season for him, but I just don't see him winning the MVP, though.
No, and more importantly, I think Chris Paul is such a great floor general that I really hope he whips Harden into shape and defense.
Yes.
Because Harden is the worst superstar defender, if that makes sense.
He's an absolute turnstile.
In that stratosphere of all superstars, he's the worst defender out of all of them. And he's honestly dreadful. So hopefully Chris Paul whips him to shape. But Harden's not in conversation for MVP. Look, I mean, I think, Steph and Kevin Durant,
they cancel each other out a bit.
They do, but I guess you're right. It'll be hard to pick one over the other.
Do you think KD will do much like he did during the final series? He'll be able to step up and sort of take that dominant role.
Yeah,
and step up and Steph seems quite happy to sort of not take a side role.
Yeah,
but he seems quite happy with having that sort of almost secondary role.
Yeah,
as long as the team's winning.
Definitely, I think it was Steph's team, and so Kevin Durant was coming into his team. So I think it was always going to be that moment where he has to. You can't just walk into a team and take over. But when it was time to take over in finals, that was exactly.
That finals performance was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
So I don't know. If I look at the team, Spurs, Kawhi Leonard,
yep,
he'd be up there. LeBron's always going to be there, of course.
See, the thing is, if Kawhi can get them up to around maybe if they can get to the 3rd or 4th seed, which is a big ask this year with the moves, especially in the West. If he's the kind of bloke that can bring him up to that, then I think he's definitely in consideration for an MVP.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he's a great player. Defensively, offensively, he's going to be the leader of that team. And if they get 55 wins, which Spurs you can do.
It's an every year. Every year. It's Spurs are too old. They're not going to make the playoffs. Spurs are too old, not going to make the playoffs. I think I've heard it for the last 3 or 4 years, and they always finish no higher than 3rd.
No. But I think Kawhi is probably your smart money. Him, LeBron, assuming LeBron plays his all 70 games like he does every other year.
Do you think this is, you said Kyrie's ready for a breakout year. Where does he go into the MVP talk?
I don't know. I think Kyrie's more breakout years and he might win the scoring title.
Yep.
I think Boston are going to have a good year, though. I think
you remember this is a Boston team that finished first last year.
That's right.
And they've picked up 2 great pieces in Gordon Hayward, who is, like I said, one of the more underrated players in the NBA.
Definitely.
And who is reuniting with his old college coach.
Yeah.
And then you've got Kyrie, who's, like you said, may win scoring title.
Yeah, I think Celtics are going to have a great year. I think Cleveland are going to have a tougher year. I think LeBron's going to have I'll say LeBron. I think he's going to have a tougher year than he has in a long time. I think East, probably the top 4 or 5 teams are going to be good. He's not walking into the finals this year.
He's walking into the conference finals.
Yeah, I think the second round, the Eastern semis, I think, he won't be sweeping them.
No.
It's going to be, I'm really interested, after the top 4 or 5 teams, it gets real bad in the East.
It does fall off really quickly.
Which is better than usually the top 2 teams.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I'm excited to see Wizards. I'm excited to see Toronto. Hopefully, that they're fit. They're missing Kyle Lowry.
Most of last year.
Which was, especially when it comes to the playoffs. But as always, it's all about the West. And that's going to be really interesting, very exciting.
It is a very strong, very loaded West Coast. Just with the one thing that I've been asking everyone, who misses out on the All-Star team for the West? Because you think about all the All-Stars that have moved
Yeah.
to the West. Only one has moved from the West to the East, which would be Hayward. And it seems like, Melo's an All-Star. Paul George is an All-Star.
Yeah.
All these guys, even someone like Al Horford, who moved to, Millsap, moved to the Nuggets. And he's an All-Star.
No, he's not getting picked.
Oh, no, he's not getting picked.
No.
But, these are actually All-Star players.
Yeah.
So these are all guys that are all in the West now. You're going to have Boogie Cousins there. You've got Anthony Davis there. You've got all these guys that are like legitimate All-Stars. Who misses the cut? I mean, I feel bad for someone like Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard takes his team, and CJ McCollum too. Those two take the Blazers to the playoffs every year. I mean, they always finish, 7th, 8th seed, and they always have to go against someone like the Warriors, which is, it's a tough out. But they are, every year, they get their team to the playoffs. They're dominant players. There's a little backcourt that could,
Yeah.
But they're going to miss out on All-Star berth again. Like, Lillard's been left off the All-Star team the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And you can argue he is one of the best point guards in the league.
Oh, he's definitely one of the best point guards. I'll tell you who's going to miss out is Klay Thompson. I'm calling it.
Ooh.
He's not making the All-Star team this year.
Yeah?
Nah. Durant and Steph will probably get voted in.
Yep.
Too.
Draymond makes it.
Oh,
I know you don't like Draymond.
Maybe a coach's decision. Maybe.
There you go.
Maybe. I'm worried for my boy Melo. Because he got called up last year.
He was an alternate last year.
Yeah, he got called up.
Because you remember Paul George is going to take a spot.
It's going to be really interesting to see actually how the OKC... I'm super psyched because Melo has had it tough for the last few years. Hasn't had much around him. Now he's going to have two... and I want to know, where is he in the scoring option now?
Yeah.
Because you got three guys who can all put up buckets.
He's your closer.
Yeah.
Paul George can put up buckets.
Yeah.
Westbrook can put up buckets.
Yeah.
But neither of those two are very clutch.
Yeah.
They're not your... Westbrook scores a lot in the open floor. Like Paul George can sort of get buckets where you need it. But as much as I hate the guy, if you dump the ball into Melo late in a game, more often than not, he's going to get you those points. And that's where I think his role will really shine. He's going to be your fourth quarter specialist.
Yeah.
Almost like your closer in baseball, the pitcher that just comes out to do the last couple of innings.
Yeah.
He is that guy. I think you dump that ball down low to him or get him on the wing, his little jab step.
Yeah.
I think that's where he's going to be his strong point. If this is a big if Westbrook can put the ego aside and Paul George can put the ego aside, to allow Melo to have that role, I reckon they can really do some damage this year.
Definitely, and think about it. Like Melo, he's one of the most double-teamed players in the league because when you play for New York Knicks, you don't have a lot around you.
No,
so it's easy to...
Well, he has the Porzingis.
Porzingis... Yeah, I know you like Porzingis, man, but...
Have I mentioned that once or twice?
Yeah, but look, the guy, he's not a Russell Westbrook or a Paul George at this point in time in his career.
Well, he's going to be an all-star this year. I'm writing that down.
I think so. But that will be kind of like who's the guy who almost made the All-Stars last year? Was it Zaza? Only because
Zaza got
the whole country to vote for him. It's like Yao Ming. I mean, he's a great player, of course, but when you got China voting,
I think Yao Ming made the All-Star game one year because he was on the ballot and he was injured at the time. And he played one game all year, but he still voted in as the starter.
Yeah, I think it happened to Magic as well with the HIV, didn't it?
Oh, come on, mate! You had enough goes at Magic last year.
I just thought,
But you look up and down this west coast. Like now you've got, like I said, someone like we haven't even mentioned yet, but going to the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
Jimmy Buckets.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler. He's been an all-star the last few years, and he's another one of those guys that can get that ball and score. I wonder if he drops out. I don't think he drops out. I think he's in there.
Really?
And the problem is Karl Anthony Towns will get his first go. I think Karl Anthony Towns is really due for his breakout year. I've been big on this guy since he's at Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think he is one of the most fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think, we were discussing last week or the week before, love of the big players. And now these big fellas all mostly can shoot threes, can play an outside-in game as well as mostly inside-out. But I think we've got a bit of they're not traditional post centers, but we have a great little lineup of your stretch fours and your fives coming into league at the moment. You look at just in the West, you've got Karl Anthony Towns, you've got two at the Pelicans, you've got like Boogie and Anthony Davis, another one that is incredible to watch. But the big man that I like, the one for the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. Jokic reminds me a lot of Arvydas Sabonis.
Okay.
Just that big man who has that amazing court vision. Like some of his passes, even in the preseason game today against the Warriors, and he's taken a 2-step spin move into the lane just off the post and then just dumped it over his shoulder, like no look pass. It was just incredible to watch. I think he's going to do a lot for them this year.
Just that's a bonus. That's a great old name from, what would have been like early 2000s.
Early 2000s. But you remember, he didn't come to the league until he was 34.
And that's why I think he was so good.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because he had the brains. Or like we were talking about the Crows before. It's in your mind. I feel like I'm 37 now. And I still play ball. Athletically, obviously not as I was when I was younger. But in my head, I still think I'm actually a better player today than I was all those years ago, because I feel like the smarts are there. There's life experiences are there.
The game slows down because you start to realise, when you're young, you've got the energy and you're full of energy.
Yeah.
And you just expend the energy.
Yeah.
Now, because you've only got a limited amount, you start to make smarter decisions.
Efficiency, yeah.
So you become a lot more efficient. And that's where like Jokic is coming into his second or third year now.
Right.
So the game's going to start to slow down a lot more for him. So when it starts to slow down, I think you're going to see some really promising stuff from Jokic.
Cool.
Or the Joker, they've dubbed him.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of him.
But I'm going to tell you, Spee, and I don't know what your thoughts about this, but I couldn't care less about the All-Stars game. I hate the All-Stars game.
It has turned into a real shitfest the last couple of weeks. Like the last couple of years, I think they've been scoring up around 200 points.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And the thing is, that's what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago about the 3-centric league. Yeah, everyone's shooting threes now.
Yeah.
That's what it's become. It's just become, I can shoot from halfway, or I can shoot from this logo. It's like, I don't care. Like, at least have a kind of contest.
Yeah.
Allow a few alley-oops and dunks. Don't play too tight a defense.
Yeah.
But you still need to make it still somewhat of a contest. Now it's just become an absolute piss take.
It's a waste of time, to be honest with you. And I remember a few All-Star games in the past which I really, really enjoyed.
Because they would make it, like it would always be, that was sort of the general rule you knew with the All-Star game. First 3 quarters, they're stuffing around.
Yeah.
Last quarter, the ego kicked in and they started.
Yeah.
I remember there was that All-Star game, I think it was a few years, maybe about 5 years ago. And Jordan was teasing like, I could probably come back and play again.
Okay, yeah.
And he said, if I was guarding LeBron, I would make him go left.
Yes.
Because he only ever goes right.
Yeah.
And I remember in the fourth quarter, 2 times, because who's the man that's closest to Jordan?
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Kobe guarded him.
Yeah.
Forced him left and blocked him on jump shots twice.
Yeah.
It was just like, he was playing full blown playoff intensity defense on him and blocked him. And it was just like, wow, like these guys really do want to prove that they're the best.
That was originally the point. I mean, in the All-Stars game, I think as time has gone on, you're right, it's turned into more of a spectacle than a hard pickup game. In the old days, like you watch some highlights in the old days. I remember Jordan driving the lane and, David Robinson goes up. Clyde is right up his ass. He's putting off layups with dudes draped all over him. That because, in those days, it was this is my opportunity
to show you guys. Who
and they weren't mates back in those days. Everyone hated each other. There might have been a couple, respected relationships, but now everyone's buddies now, and that's another thing that sucks about it. They're all buddies, man. And they all there's no the competition's gone. Yeah. So I hate it. And when Kobe, and I'm not a fan of Kobe, but when he blocked LeBron twice, the one when he went left and pulled up for a jumper about 15 feet, and he blocked him from the side to behind, that was beautiful.
Oh, and he told him about it too.
Oh, yeah. And the next play, LeBron goes end to end, and he tries to lay it up on his left, and Kobe still, somehow, who's a smaller, older dude, and LeBron, is, 2012 peak or something.
Yeah.
He could, and Kobe blocked him, and it was beautiful. I remember, I think it was early 2000s, you mentioned the boy Marbury a few weeks ago. There was a one where Eastwood down, and Marbury and Iverson.
I just started shooting.
And they pulled it back, and it was the best All-Star game. And then there was also the other one when Jordan, I think it was last All-Star game, second last All-Star game, when they dumped it him in the post and Sean Marion was defending him and he, shake and bake, fade away. Baseline jumper, and he hit it, and it was awesome, man. I just don't feel like that. Last year, Anthony Davis, what did he score, 100 points? What did he score? He broke a record.
60-something, yeah.
It was ridiculous. He broke a 100-year record. It was ridiculous.
They seem more concerned in getting their points and getting their, rather than getting, you look at Westbrook's that guy that takes it too seriously. Because he's just trying to prove via numbers that he's the best.
Yeah.
You know, and like he'll always score. Like he scored, I think, 35 this year, even though Anthony Davis scored like 60.
Yeah.
And the year before that, he got the MVP, but he took like 10 more shots than everybody else. It's
Yeah.
like, mate, you know, like make it a show. It's not about you. You know, and like but you're still going to make it a competition. But he was just like, nah, I'm going to get my stats. And that's all he's ever been is just stats.
I wouldn't mind it if the defense actually then tightened up with him.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't, all of a sudden he doesn't get the
only
cheap
problem
stuff.
is who's really playing, well, who's really in the All-Star team for the East?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously LeBron is.
Yeah, LeBron.
You know,
He can't do everything.
I know, but see, I get so upset, man. Like, if that was me and I was out there, I would be so excited to show who was the best out there. And, you know, this is an opportunity. Like,
So you'd say you'd almost be Tony Danza showing you who's the boss. That was a really washed reference. I'm very sorry about that, guys.
Oh, wow. Are we talking about bad sitcoms today? Or
that'd be,
another time,
I think we
man?
could do a future show on that. But
Yeah,
I just had to
that's
throw-
a shocker.
I have a thing for Tony Danza. I think he's hilarious. But yeah, if you look at that East team now, that All-Star lineup is going to have a lot of first-timers.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we were discussing the big men before, and that's the only team players I can really see that are good, actually decent in the East. You've got, obviously, your Porzingis, who I think is going to be incredible. Guy that's missed out the last couple of years, Hassan Whiteside. I think he's very, very good. I think he's underrated. I honestly think since the move to the Hornets, and this is a guy that I've panned a lot and a guy that I'm not a huge fan of, but I think we might see a bit of a resurgence with Dwight Howard.
Yeah,
Because he's in a smaller market team again. There's no pressure on him. You know, this team hasn't made the playoffs in forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Jordan as the owner, so it's going to push him. But I think he's that guy that needs to be in that small market.
I hope so.
Like, he doesn't need any pressure on him. The game needs to be fun for him, and I think it's got a chance to do that again for him.
Yeah.
But then you've got the Bucks. You've got Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's 7 foot, but he still moves like a small forward.
Yeah.
But he's technically a big guy. We mentioned Porzingis. And the two guys that I think are really going to take the league by storm this year, if one of them, fingers crossed, touch wood, he can stay healthy, Joel Embiid.
Yep.
And Ahmed.
Yeah.
From Melbourne.
Yeah.
Ben
definitely.
Simmons.
I can't wait to see this guy play. Apparently he's grown. Apparently he's taller now.
Yeah,
or
he's up to
something.
like almost, I think he's like 6'11" or up to 7 foot and stuff like that. And he's already an amazing ball handler and passer.
Yeah.
And so I think if Embiid can stay healthy, and that's a big if, that Sixers team has the ability to shock the world. They can do that classic worst to first kind of season.
Yeah, a bit of a rocky story from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they make the playoffs. I don't know. I think I might be a bit,
Ambitious?
bit ambitious, but I reckon they might push. You know, they're a young team, and
I think they've definitely got a chance. I mean, some of the acquisitions, they've got Markelle Fultz, who's the number one pick. He looks like he could be exciting to score a lot. You know what I mean? But they've got that set up where they can be a little bit different so teams don't know where they're coming from because he's going to be their quote-unquote point guard, but the person that's going to have most of the ball handling, much like with the Cavs with LeBron, is going to be Ben Simmons.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because he's got that point guard mentality, even though he's 6'11".
Yeah.
He's not a great shooter, let's be honest. It's pretty ugly lefty. But his ability to drive and dish, is incredible. Like, his passing ability, people forget how good he was. I mean, it was only Summer League.
Yeah.
But those Summer League games last season, he was just dominating. And so you get him in there. They've just picked up, for 1 year, and they've given him a huge contract, but they have the money there, is JJ Redick.
Yeah.
From the Clippers. Now, he is another hugely underrated player because he is a spot-up shooter, can shoot the absolute lights out. And I reckon that's going to be a huge deal for them because it's going to space the floor. You know what I mean? So they can't slack off Simmons too much because he'll just drive on them because he's more athletic than most guys that are going to play the four. And then you've got Embiid inside, and Embiid is that classic big man like your Olajuwon style. You can get the ball into a post, but he can also shoot with some sort of range. So he's going to spread the floor. They've got Covington, who can also shoot and play great defense. He's your traditional, every team seems to have a small forward that's just 3-and-D, and that's Covington. And so I think, other than their maybe lack of depth and the fact that Okafor, who was their number 3 pick a couple of years ago, absolutely stinks. I just think that they've got some real promise, and I reckon they can definitely make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, well, I'm picking them. I'm going to pick them that they're going to make it. They'll probably do not a lot.
No.
But they might sneak into the 7 or 8.
If they can win one playoff game. Just don't get swept.
Yeah.
Win one playoff game, I reckon they'll...
The problem is, if they do finish 7 for 8, they're going to come up against
the Cavs or the Celtics,
Yeah.
But, it's just, you hold out the hope. You trust the process.
Yeah. So, yeah, I reckon 76ers will be good. I'm actually excited for the NBA since the AFL was a shit fucking finish. I'm actually really looking forward to moving on. I'm not even much of a cricket fan, but when's the Ashes start?
Yeah,
man?
yeah. Well, I always say that this is the best time of year for every sports fan. End of September, start of October, because it's the end of the AFL season, start of the NFL season, start of the NBA, finish of the baseball season. They all kind of come together within this 2-month period. And
do you like the soccer? Do you like the Premier League and stuff like that? Do you get into that stuff?
Nah, not a big fan.
Not so much. You like the American sports?
I love my American sports. I love World Cup. I'm one of those nutcases that will wake up 2 a.m. to watch a World Cup game.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I've just sort of fallen out of love with soccer.
Yeah, okay. I really dig the Premier League stuff.
Yeah, it's good. But it's just, I don't know. I enjoy the playoff systems and the fact that they don't have it, and you have to kind of watch every game, and then if your team has a draw, sometimes that's a bad thing. It's just like, oh, we should have got 3 points of that team.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no, too much. I have enough teams that I support. I don't need, and my teams are always routinely shit, so there's no point in me dragging another team down with my curse. Which my friends, sorry, Patrick. I do believe that I did curse the Crows by jumping on board.
Yeah. That's funny. My mate, we've got to do a rule that you don't bet on Richmond. Anyway. No. Because they will screw you no matter what.
Your heart every time.
You know, if you bet on Richmond, they'll lose. If you bet against Richmond, they'll win. Yep. It's actually a rule. We're a little syndicate. It's actually official rule number 1.
Do not bet on Richmond.
Do not Richmond. And then he put a bunch of money.
That's the reason why the only team I hate more than Crows and Richmond is North Melbourne, because North Melbourne are that team for me with win tips. If I tip them, they'll lose. If I don't tip them, they win. And they do my life in. I hate North Melbourne. Yeah. I'm never joining in the chorus. Yeah. All right, so Steve, we'll wrap this one up then. We've done a bit of a little preview. We'll wrap it up with our lists, and we love our list, but we're just going to do a basic list with the NBA. Name me your playoff team, Steve. Start with the West.
Yeah, I'll just, quick fire them. Warriors, obviously. Spurs, I'm going to say, obviously, Houston now, I mean, they come third last year anyway, I think. So they're definitely in their better team. OKC, oh, man, I can't wait to get my next OKC jersey. I can't wait to be wearing that one. I think he's number 7 still, Melo, which is killer. New Orleans, how can you go past Boogie and Anthony Davis? Timberwolves, I think they're going to be awesome. Blazers, like you said, Lillard. He's so good and he's so unlucky that there's like some really good point guards out there. Yeah, I think he still lives in the shadows a bit. And Memphis. Yeah, Memphis you're always going to throw him in there.
They're almost like Sydney. They're always going to be there.
Yeah.
They're not the prettiest team. They're not the most exciting. But they're always going to be there.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm East, Celtics, Wizards. John Wall's good. Raptors. Like we said, the 76ers. Hopefully Jordan comes off the bench for Charlotte, gets them in there. Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat, only because literally there's no one else left. And then of course you have to say the Cavs. I don't think it's going to be a walk-in this year. LeBron's been in the finals 7 or 8 times in a row. Mostly because there hasn't been, in my opinion, a lot of opposition. But I think this year, the top 3 or 4 East teams are going to be. I think they're going to give him a bit of a hard time. And he always rests those last half a dozen to 10 games in the season. That's going to be crucial because they come second last year. They don't want to come third or fourth.
No, they definitely
don't.
So
that's going to be very interesting to see how they manage him. The dude's 33 or 34 this year.
But that's where I see them having the advantage of getting someone and it's a small, I've had people go, oh, he's not that good. But Jay Crowder is serviceable.
Right.
And he's that guy that's going to be able to rest LeBron.
During the season as well.
And during the playoffs too. Like that's what killed him in the finals, that there was literally no one that could spell LeBron.
Yeah, but you don't spell LeBron. He plays as much as you can.
Yeah, I know, but when the other team gets to spell their players, and then he's playing against a well-rested Kevin Durant. I mean, Kevin Durant's hard to guard at the best of times. And when he's had a chance to have a rest and you're on the court running up and down, there's not much you can really do there. But I'll run through my teams. The East is exactly the same as yours. We've got the Cavs. Who, I think might get the big trade. The rumor is, you heard it here. I've heard a rumor, and they may be acquiring Boogie Cousins. So there's maybe a trade.
Who are they getting rid of?
There.
J.R. Smith maybe or something.
Oh no, you can't get rid of J.R. mate. He's the
what was it? What was the stat you told me the other day? Something about J.R. Smith. Since he's been part of the team, they've got to the final street. Is that what you said to me?
Since J.R. Smith has become a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers, they haven't missed the final since he's been there. Nothing to do with LeBron being there too, but I'm just saying, since JR's been there, they haven't lost. You can't argue with facts. Okay? The facts don't matter, but you can't argue with that stat. Cavs, Celtics, Wizards, Raptors, same as yours. Hornets, Bucks and the Heat.
Yeah.
And then, the wild card there being the 76ers.
Yeah.
Big fan of the process. The West is going to look very, very similar. We've got the Warriors, of course, Spurs, Rockets, Thunder. Timberwolves, I think, are going to be very exciting. They're going to be pushing for a 4 seed.
Really? Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Who are they knocking out?
Maybe the Spurs.
Okay.
Because maybe the year. We always hear it say it every year, but this may be the year that they're too old.
Yeah.
And then the Blazers, Grizzlies, and then the one that I'm going to alternate with you because you said Pellies.
Yeah.
I don't think the Pelicans are going to make it. Unfortunately,
Is that because?
I think Boogie is getting traded.
Oh, okay.
And I just don't think that works in today's game anyway. The two bigs.
Okay.
And as much as I love watching those two play together, I don't think it'll get it done because I think the Nuggets will get in.
Yeah, okay.
With Jamal Murray second year, another year on, and he's a great player. Who he's going to be a great player, and then just that Jokic, I'm on him. Just he might win Most Improved, or he's gonna win an award. He's gonna be very recognised. I think you're gonna get great things out of Nikola Jokic this year. I've mentioned him a lot. But
Yep.
I'm a big on the European big men. I've got my Porzingis, I've got Jokic. I love the big guys from Europe. They just seem to play the game on a different level. It's just a bit of flair, a bit of pizzazz, even for the big guys. I'm really on them. So that's going to be the show for today, guys. Remember to rate and review, guys. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a few comments. Share the page out, guys. Share the podcast. Let everyone else enjoy it. I think we're up to 12 listeners now, guys. That's exceptional. If we can get to 14 by next week, that's going to be super.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're really taking over the airways, guys. So that's us for today. For Speaker, I want to say goodbye. Steve Burrows.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.